Okay, hi everybody. So this Zoom is for you to be able to capitalize on the stories that you're going to be hearing in the next 90 days. So as you probably hopefully have all seen, we are going on a 90-day run. And what that means is in the next 90 days, every Tuesday night, you can be assured that you have a Zoom to send your guests to. And every Tuesday, it will be on this Zoom line, 411-123-4567, and passcode LV. It will always be at 7 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Central, unless otherwise notified, but just always make sure you double check the time. And each week, tonight we had a full presentation done by Des Mamet, which was phenomenal. And then each week now going after, what we're going to do is you will hear the company story of LifeVantage and about Protandim Nerve 2, where we started. And then we're going to bring in a product story on a specific product and teach on that specific product. We will still make sure everyone knows about the pipeline of products we have, but we are just going to highlight through people's stories, one particular stack or product each week, and then we will always end with the opportunity as well. So it should be around 30 minutes or less. So for instance, next week we have the Vitality Stack, I believe it is, with Jillian Fisher. One week we'll have the Healthy Glow Stack. One week will be the Tri-Synergizer with Mind Body, Axio, all of those. So just look for that marketing and promotion every week, and on Tuesday night, know that it's coming. So the intent of this tonight was Tracy was so kind, Tracy Lane, to offer her services as far as when we hear the stories on Zooms, how do we take those stories and then go and share them through social media so that we can leverage those and, of course, attract other people and then use it, right, as we do our DMO to get more people to feed into the Zooms we're doing on a weekly basis. So with that, Tracy, thank you so much for offering to just train us on how to leverage this and be the best that we can. So excited.
I'm so excited. Thank you guys for being on. We didn't realize that the doctor's call was going to be happening at the same time as this one. So we apologize for that, but hopefully the doctor's call is recorded and this one for sure is. And this will not just pertain to this 90-day run. It is going to help you in every facet of your LifeVantage business. And it doesn't only pertain to products, it's the business opportunity as well, because the thing is, facts don't sell, emotions and stories do. And I have gotten very, very good at making people feel things when I talk about products and honing in on how this is going to change their life, whether it's a product or an opportunity. And so I just wanted to share that with you because you're going to hear so many amazing testimonies about book business, and particularly over these next 90 days, the stories of these products and how they can help people's lives. And not everybody is going to jump on an hour-long Zoom. It's just not going to happen. People's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter by the day. And so to be able to capture what you took away and put it into content that can help you continue to share that story and help people on social media is going to be huge for your business. And my friend Sean is here. I'm going to have her share her story in a moment, but I'm going to do a little mini training first. And then I'm going to have Sean share her story and we can kind of like workshop style, figure out how you can share her story and others to get people feeling the feels. So the first thing I want to talk about is LifeVantage has so much science. And I know for me, I got gun shy for a little bit on even wanting to share because I didn't understand all the science. I am not a scientist. And when you have PubMed and Harvard and the American Journal of Psychology and like Washington State University calling NRF2 like the most extraordinary therapeutic breakthrough, like it can be overwhelming. Like, I don't know how to do this justice. It's amazing that we have all of that behind us, but it's not going to be what gets the message to your ideal person. They are not sitting there wondering, how is oxidative stress affecting my daily life? Like, that is not going to move the needle. They're sitting there thinking like, what's going to make me feel like myself again? What's going to give me the energy I had 5, 10 years ago? What is going to help with my joint pain and inflammation? Nobody, you got to go. What is going to help with my energy, my anxiety? And so when you can take these testimonies and provide actual stories or feelings for people, that's going to be when they're like, oh my gosh, I see myself in that story. I need that. So you don't need to be an expert. You don't need to understand all the science. You literally just need to make people feel something. And I guarantee you that every story you're going to hear over the next 90 days is going to make you feel something. So your job is to take that pain point or that emotion that you feel and think, how can I bring this to either an in-person event, if that's the way you grow your business, or if you're growing on social media, how can I create content with this? So facts tell, but feelings sell. If you lead with the science, you are going to lose people. I promise you. And especially in the business side of it, maybe somebody will become your customer because of the science, but they'll think, I don't understand that science, so I'm never, ever going to try and do what he or she does because I don't know how to explain that. So your best bet is letting our tools and stories do the work for you and just leading with emotion. So if you lead with a story that stirs something in them, and then they'll want to know more, and then you can share the science after. But that, like, think about all the major companies like Nike. Do you ever hear about Nike's like foam density or their sole material? Like, no, you're going to see them chasing a goal that they thought was impossible. And because of the Nike shoes, they achieve it. Or Apple, like, they're not talking about their processor speed. They're showing a dad capturing his daughter's first steps. And that, like, tugs at our hearts. And then we're like, oh my gosh, I need Apple. Or Dove, they're not talking about pH levels. They're showing women learning how to love their bodies again. So emotions are what make people move, and they're not educating. They are connecting. So our job in Life Vantage is to connect people with these incredible products. And then later, if they have questions about the science, we can point them in the direction of all the tools. So you don't, hi buddy, I love you. I literally only ask you to not be on when I'm on a Zoom. Ask dad. But yes. Okay, so you don't need to know it all. You really don't. You just need to be able to tell stories well. And if you follow me, or if you choose to start following me, you'll see that I share a lot of stories, my own and other people's, so that people can see themselves in me and the products that I'm sharing. The science is there if someone asks, but we want to think feelings first, feelings first, feelings first. So with that, I would love for you to meet Sean. I met Sean at an event. Ashlyn Whitaker came out probably a month or so ago, and Sean shared her stories, and I just sat there with tears in my eyes. My husband and myself struggled with infertility, and so hearing her share her story about what NRF2 did for her and her husband was one of those things where, you know, do you ever walk away from something and you're like, I can't not share this? Like, I can't not talk about this because so many people need it. And that's what her story did for me. So I would love, and I'm so thankful that you agreed to do this, Sean. Can you just share your testimony with NRF2 and then let us break it down and figure out how to make content with it?
Okay, just handing the baby off. Um, he was doing the sleepy bedtime nod, and my husband was off feeding cows when I was supposed to be Zooming. So yes, my husband and I, we dealt with infertility for several years. I think we started probably trying to get pregnant back in like 2015, and it was, I think, 2018 when we um, finally got our first positive pregnancy test. And we, through it all, we figured out that the underlying cause of it was my husband had low testosterone. And so in order for us to get pregnant, he needed to have HCG injections to get his testosterone level up where it needed to be. And so we did this with our first son. And then again, when we wanted to grow our family again, we did the same thing again to get pregnant with our second. And in the kind of the middle of it, we went through cancer. So my husband was diagnosed with testicular cancer in kind of the middle of it. first after our firstborn, and then again after he relapsed and was diagnosed with reoccurring cancer again after our second, or right before our first, or sorry, I got little kids screaming in the background. So through it all, we knew we wanted to have more children, but we decided we were content with our two, and so we decided not to pursue any further fertility treatments at that point after our second born. And that's when Dr. Cheryl, which is my husband's sister, my sister-in-law, she's a chiropractor. And so she was introduced to LifeVantage and their products, and then she introduced them to us. And so I was initially interested in the collagen and kind of got started, but then I started understanding more about NRF2 activation and just what it could do to keep our family healthy, and kind of having gone through cancer and just not wanting that to happen again. That was just something that I knew I wanted my family on. And so we got started with Healthy Glow Stack, so collagen and NRF2, and had been on that consistently, both of us, for about, we started in April of 23, and then at the end of December, beginning of January 2024, we got the surprise of our life with a positive pregnancy test, which were never expecting, because we couldn't ever get pregnant before without those HCG injections to get my husband's testosterone level up. And so and then through some kind of retesting, because my husband has had follow-up blood work through it all. And so we did discover that the testosterone level was increasing while being activated. And it's not normal, but it's definitely enough where, we could get pregnant. So, yeah.
When she told that story, I was just like, so literally, like, this little human probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for activation and these products. Like, they did everything and nothing raised his testosterone. So that was a moment for me, as somebody who had struggled with infertility, to be like, how selfish am I being to not share what I heard? And I don't think I even name dropped Sean when I shared it. And I didn't ask you, because I just assume when people are sharing these testimonies, it's like, we can talk about it. I hope that didn't bother you. But I went on my stories the next morning and broke down crying. Like, this is so much more than just a supplement, and a human was brought into the world. And you guys, I text Tanya before this, and I said, I'm panicking because compliance is not something I really think about. I wait until they tell me, like, oh, hey, you shouldn't have said that. And then I take it down, because I totally just lead with my heart. And if something touches me, I talk about it. And I was just at Growth Summit a week and a half ago, and they said, if you've never gotten an email from compliance, you're not trying hard enough. Like, basically, we should all be getting in trouble with compliance if we are sharing our hearts, because we're bound to say something that is not compliant. But that's okay. You can just delete it, and they're really nice. And so if you want to stay compliant, I highly recommend using ChatGPT. You can teach it to learn LifeVantage and tell it, like, I can't make any medical claims, and I use ChatGPT all the time. But I am so big on, when something moves me, I just want to go and share it with the world. So the next morning I went on my stories and I said, I heard this story about a lady, and I just shared exactly what Sean shared in, like, a shorter version. And so I feel like so many times people hear these stories and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to tell people about this. But then they go and focus on the science instead of the emotion. And the emotion is really what is going to move the needle. And then we have the science to back it up. So Sean, if you need to go, because I know you have little kids and this is like the hour where us moms, obviously mine just interrupted me, you can totally go. But I'm just so thankful for you sharing your heart on this. And can we just clarify, was it like financial when you decided not to do IVF another time? Were you like, we're content and the cost is, or Was
So
money not?
for Yep. It wasn't really money for us, honestly. It was the timing of the HCG injections and his cancer diagnosis. It was just too much of a coincidence for us. We felt like maybe that was an underlying switch that caused it, and doctors will never say or, confirm for us, but it was too much of a coincidence that his HCG tumor marker elevated after he was receiving HCG injections. So,
Yeah. So you were like, do we choose between his
yeah,
life or growing our family?
yeah,
And you
yeah.
got to have both. So, like, does anyone else just have goosebumps hearing that? Like, ah. So thank you, Sean. Go be with your babies. Um, we'll get you the recording if you want it, but thank you so much. So I have examples I can share with you guys, but I'm just curious if anyone would like to speak about, like, how would you go and share that story, either in a post, a reel, a carousel, like what about that tugged at your heart that had nothing to do with necessarily sharing the science?
I can share.
Yay.
Well, I mean, gosh, as someone who lost 3 pregnancies and, went through the pain of infertility and never really had the success of having a child, um, I would never want someone to go through the pain of that because I didn't think I was going to be able to honestly go through life not experiencing being a mom. Um, didn't know about NRF2 at that time in my life. So how could I possibly keep that a secret when it is, you know, it's just, it's a big deal. And if we have an answer for somebody that can keep them from having to deal with pain like that, why would we not share it?
Absolutely.
And I don't talk about that. So this, it's funny. This is like the first time I've really talked about it.
So you've never shared that.
Not really.
So do you guys see like how powerful stories are? Like Sean sharing her story helped me realize, like, oh my gosh, I have a story that I can share with this. And she's crying, like, stories are so
I never
powerful.
thought I had a story. Isn't that funny? Mm.
You do.
Because I didn't know about NRF2 at the time, so I feel like I have always felt like that wasn't my story. But my gosh, what if I had known about it?
So, like, how powerful is that? Like, do you feel compelled, like, I have to go share this with people now?
Yeah.
I like, and so social media is so good for sharing stories, and so are events. Like I met Sean at an event, and at that event, I was moved to tears. But on social media, you can capture these stories and they can be shared over and over and over again and reach people that you never ever would have met. And so, like what I did with sharing Sean's story on my stories is kind of confusing, but stories expire after 24 hours. So you can go on and share whatever you want, and then it goes away unless you save it. I feel a little bit better being non-compliant there because they only have 24 hours to catch me. And I don't think they've ever complained about my stories. But if you're going to do a post or a reel, that is something that can live on your feed or even a live video. So you all could do any of those things tomorrow or even tonight if you feel inspired, where you could say, like, I'm going to turn my camera on and I'm going to share what I just learned and find the person out there that is struggling with infertility that this story will reach. And so many times I feel like we have to think that the story is about us, or you may have never struggled with infertility. That doesn't mean that somebody that's going to watch what you're sharing didn't struggle with it. And so take yourself out of it and stop thinking that you can only share your own story, and share whatever is on your heart. Because when you are feeling something, the way that Mia just started crying, like we all could feel the emotion. And so when you share that, that is truly the key to having influence on social media. It's not how many followers you have. It's not how many posts you do. It's that when you create content, are people really resonating with it? Are they feeling what you're feeling? And when you're sharing something from a place of genuineness, they are going to feel that. And so that's why I didn't wait. I was literally standing at my kitchen sink with no makeup on, thinking about the night prior, and shared Sean's story. And if I had waited until I had makeup on and I was dressed, and I mean, I wasn't naked, but like, I probably would have lost some of that emotion. And so just being okay with being vulnerable and turning the camera on and sharing what you're feeling is so incredible. So my first tip would be, if nothing else, create a story. If you don't know how to do a story, go to YouTube. I literally I built a following to over 100,000 followers on Instagram by YouTubing everything. So I don't want to get into the nitty gritty here of how to create certain things, but go on your stories, because then you can always go back and find the archive of that. So if you decide like, I want to make a post out of it, you can take what you said and felt in that moment and type it all out. Or you can turn that story into a reel, which is going to live on your profile forever. So when you're feeling something, when you're feeling moved, go on your stories and repeat the story. So is anybody brave enough to pretend like they're going to go on their stories right now and just sort of recap what you're feeling about what both Mia and Sean have shared? And then I'll just kind of help you like how I would do it. Anybody that brave?
I've seen Marcy unmute a couple times. Marcy, are you wanting to do it? Oh, she muted.
I can
I'm
try.
sorry.
I am so sorry. I do not mean to unmute.
No worries. Okay, go for it, Angie.
Okay. You guys, I just heard this amazing story. You know how I love the healthy glow stack? Like that's the liquid collagen, the Protandem. That's what got me into LifeVantage and wanting to share with all of you. But I just heard Sean share about how it impacted their family, where they thought they were done with their two children. They had the journey of like infertility, and they got the surprise later in life that they have another baby, and activation matters in their family. So let's just keep this conversation going. That is my favorite product, the collagen and the Protandem. Okay, got caught up at the end, but
Oh, that was so good. That was so good, Angie. So that would be a perfect story, like just genuine and authentic and sharing the feelings. And then you can take that exact energy and you could even start the story off with like, have any of you ever experienced infertility? And you could put a poll or like a sliding bar or a question box in your story, like utilizing the tools. And again, if you don't know how to do that, don't be overwhelmed by it. It's really not hard, but there are so many ways to engage people on social media if you learn how to use the tools. And so she did a poll, like say at 8 o'clock in the morning, at 10 when you're having your coffee or whatever, you want to hop on stories. At 8 o'clock, put a poll in. Have any of you struggled with infertility? And a bunch of people say yes. You're going to feel that much more inspired to show up and share that. And so you can say like, look, and they don't say numbers, it's just percentages. So if you do a poll and only 3 people vote on it, but 2 of them say, yes, I've struggled with infertility, you can be like, what's the math on that? Like 66% or something. 66% of you, and people are going to be like, oh my gosh, struggle with infertility. And I just heard the most incredible testimony last night, and it's all because of this healthy glow stack that I've been talking to you about. And I focus on, feeling better and looking better, but this can actually help with infertility. And so talking about what you've always talked about, but then bringing it around to, it does so much more than that. And then like for reels, do any of you create reels? Like raise your hand if you create reels. Mia does, Angie does, Dean does. Okay, yeah. So you could do, let's see, I have some, you could find a video, or you could just have like a cup of coffee, like you're pouring a cup of coffee, and you could have the text on screen. They tried everything. Nothing natural worked until this. And that's like the hook as you're pouring the cup of coffee. And then you could continue to do it with text, or you could show yourself talking on screen. I just heard a story that gave me goosebumps. If you've been struggling with infertility and quietly hoping something would finally work, I'd love to have a conversation. And so that way you're not even being non-compliant because you're having the conversation in the inbox. And that could be a post too, taking just like the guts of the story, or like the hook of the story, the thing that you're like, wait, what? And then you can have that conversation in the inbox where you can be more relatable and one-on-one and actually voice clip them or share your heart. You don't have to share the entire thing in a reel or in a post. Okay, so a more upfront style, like that was more attraction marketing where people are like, what are you talking about? But a more upfront one would be like, NRF2 is proven to help support testosterone levels. That's probably going to get a lot of people's attention if that's on a post or a reel. And then you can have more information in the caption, and you're not even necessarily saying that it's LifeVantage, so it's still technically compliant. But things that will grab people's attention, one of my best performing reels is you might be consuming cow anus if you're taking powdered collagen, because people are like, what? Am I eating cow anus? And probably not every powdered collagen has cow anus in it, but there are some that do. And so you get people to stop in their tracks, and then they want to know more. And even if they're just being nosy, you're probably going to start a conversation with them. So using kind of startling information or things that people might not necessarily think of when they think of NRF2 or our products is going to be a great way to start those conversations. So here's another example of like Facebook or Instagram stories. Ever feel like your body just won't respond no matter what you try? And then have a poll, yes or ugh, yes, like kind of don't give them the answer you don't want them to answer if you don't want to. And this could work for Mind Body. This could work for Axio, like any of our products. You could start with a poll like this. And then you could do another slide like this one. My friend's husband went through years of hormone treatment and infertility, and finally they felt like they had to stop. But this made all the difference. It's not a prescription. It's not a hormone shot. It's something totally different. Do you want the story or do you want more info? DM me the word hope and I'll message you privately. So you can put the whole story out there if you want, like I did, like just talking. But if you want to start conversations with people in the inbox and really get into the nitty-gritty and be able to share the emotion and the science, this is a great way to see who's actually watching. Because when we just word vomit and give everybody everything, they have no need to like reach out and start that conversation with you. And the conversation is really probably the most powerful part when they can hear your voice or feel your excitement. So using social media to create those stories, and it doesn't matter if you have 50 followers or 5,000 or 50,000, those conversations, the people that are seeing your posts and reels and start conversations with you, those are the ones that are really engaged and are your best leads. Oh, and then like going live. Wait, why does it say playing music? Am I playing music? Okay. There's a thing above my head that says playing music, so I just want to make sure I wasn't. Going live and engaging in conversation. Going live is probably the thing that's still the most intimidating for me because you can't edit it. You can't delete it like a story. You can go on stories, and if you're like, I sound like a moron, you can just delete it. Same with a reel. You get to edit it and slice it down, or a post. You can run it through like Grammarly or ChatGPT to check all the grammar. But when you go live, you're sort of just being yourself and you can say really stupid things, which I do all the time. But lives are really powerful because people can feel like what Mia and Angie just did, like just sharing vulnerably. And so if you don't have a huge social media following, but you feel confident showing up live, that can be so powerful because people can really feel your heart and know that, oh, this is a real person. Like she's not editing these down to look like perfect. This is just a person with a personality who flubs over her words. And that is going to build that know, like, trust factor, which is so important in building and sharing anything you do online. People have to know you, like you, and trust you. And so showing up and being authentic wherever you are is so, so, so important. But these stories have power, and you're going to hear stories that you could never recreate. But if you are feeling moved and have that raw emotion and like, oh my gosh, I know somebody out there needs this. And I always remember, like, it doesn't matter if 5,000 people raise their hand to need this or one person does. If I show up and one person needs the answer to their problem and I have that answer, like, who am I to decide that it's not worth me showing up? Like, my job is to show up and share what God has laid on my heart and share these incredible products and the blessing that they can be. And so I've decided to take myself out of the equation. And if I get that God nudge of like, somebody needs to hear this, I don't worry about who it is. I don't worry about how polished or perfect I sound. I share up, or I show up and I share authentically, and you're going to start getting messages in your inbox like, you have no idea how much I needed to hear that. Oh my gosh, my sister-in-law was struggling with that and I sent this to her. And, so like, it's so important that we don't make it about ourselves, that we don't make it about what people are going to think, that we make it about who out there needs to hear what I just heard and how could that change their life. And so you can use social media to do that so many ways. And I hope that this was not overwhelming, but more so inspiring. Like, you don't have to show up and be perfect and edited and polished. You just need to show up with heart and emotion and trust that God has your people out there for you to reach.
Tracy, I just want to say too, like in Dez's last presentation, everybody, like her consultant that she highlighted, Tiffany, she talked about 15 years with an eating disorder. And I'm just thinking about how so many people relate GLP-1 to losing weight. And for her, it was about getting her relationship back so she could have control in her life. Like, these are the kind of stories we're going to be hearing. She talked about her anxiety, how it became easier for her to deal with that. So just these are the things we're going to bring to you every Tuesday. And Tracy, this is like my favorite training ever. It was so good and so powerful and so applicable. Like, thank you so much for doing this. I can't wait for everybody to see this.
I always feel like a bumbling idiot. So thanks for always making me feel good.
It was so good.
Literally, you
So
can take
good.
any story, like Dez's girl, like there is somebody out there that is struggling with an eating disorder and thinks that GLP-1 is not the answer. And it's like, it's not our job to filter the information. It's our job to share the information and share the hope. And yeah, social media can be a powerful platform to do that and reach people that you could never, ever, ever reach. Like, it's really cool when we're like, okay, I have the whole, like, how many billions of people at my fingertips. If I just show up and be vulnerable and trust God to lead me to the people that need to hear this, that's your only job. It's not to know everything. It's not to look perfect or be perfect. It's just share your heart.
Amen. All right.
Thanks for doing this, ladies. Thanks, Tanya, for setting up all this stuff on Tuesdays too.
Of course. Excited for what's ahead. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Tracy.
Thanks,
I love you
Tracy.
guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you both.